My mom replaced the locks and cut off access to the workshop. 2 days later, I claimed there. What if the people you called family, the ones you sacrificed everything for, not only betrayed you, but celebrated it? Imagine getting a text that said, "You're locked out now. Try to make it on your own." Haha. That haha broke me, and then it unleashed something else entirely. It was late a Tuesday night. My phone buzzed, cutting through the silence of my apartment. It was Mom. Judith. I knew it. A single message flashed. Property has been sold. We changed the locks on the repair shop. You're locked out now. I want to see you try to make it on your own. Haha. I read it once, twice. The words themselves hit hard, a physical punch. But that haha, that's what truly twisted the knife. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a victory lap. Their celebration. And they wanted me to know it. But I didn't panic. I didn't cry. Instead, a cold, calm fury began to build inside me. It brought with it an almost unnerving clarity. They thought they'd won. They believed they'd finally gotten rid of me. I just smiled. They had no idea what they had just started. I gently set my phone down. No screaming calls. No angry texts back. I just sat there in the quiet, letting that measured, icy smile settle on my face. This wasn't happiness, not by a long shot. This was calculation. They thought locking me out of the garage physically solved their problem. They forgot. They forgot I still controlled the entire foundation of that business. I opened my laptop. The screen glowed bright in the dark room. I logged into the supplier portal for Detroit's primary auto parts distributor. My name, Emily, was the account holder. Every single purchase was guaranteed by my personal credit card on file. I saw the order my father, Walter, had probably submitted earlier that day. 12 new transmissions, set for delivery first thing in the morning. I hit the cancel button. Next, the equipment leasing website. That high-tech diagnostic machine they were so proud of. The one they relied on daily? My name, my credit, my guarantee secured that lease. Cancelled. Then, the regular order for 24 tires from the Goodyear supplier. Cancelled. By 3 minutes past midnight, only moments after their declaration of victory, I had completely halted their entire supply chain. The repair shop would be completely non-functional by sunup. They couldn't even buy a single wrench without me. Now, to understand why I had this level of control and why I felt absolutely zero guilt doing it, you need to know about my family. And you need to know about the last decade of my life. My name is Emily. I'm 29, and I'm a highly skilled mechanic. My family used to own a vehicle repair garage here in Detroit. My grandfather started it, but for the last 10 years, it had been my burden. My father, Walter, he was the charismatic face of the operation. He loved shaking hands, telling stories. But honestly, he couldn't tell a socket wrench from a torque wrench. My mother, Judith, she cared exclusively about public perception. The social standing that owning the garage provided, that was her focus. And then there's my sister, Bridget. She's 24. Always the golden child. My mother lived her life entirely through her. Bridget is charming, she's attractive, and she has never once stepped foot inside that garage. She used to claim she was allergic to grease. Really? She was allergic to effort. I always thought I was the responsible one. That was the term they constantly applied to me. Responsible. It sounds complimentary, right? But in my family, it was a heavy, suffocating burden. While my sister received a fully paid business degree and an allowance for her professional wardrobe, I was busy working in the shop. I started sweeping floors at 15. By 19, I could rebuild an engine. By 22, I was not only the lead mechanic but also the bookkeeper, inventory manager, and supplier contact. I was the only thing stopping that company from going into foreclosure. That business was a black hole for cash. A bottomless pit. And I was the only person pouring money in. Not just my time, but my personal capital. The total reached $195,000. I remember that figure exactly because I am meticulous with financial records. It started 5 years ago. My father's business credit line was about to be canceled. A $15,000 note. I took out a separate loan myself, using my excellent credit rating to pay it off. I rationalized it as securing the family's future. Then 3 years ago, the hydraulic lifts needed replacing. Safety inspectors condemned the old ones. My father considered closing the shop. I stopped him. I spent $50,000, my entire savings, to purchase 2 new lifts and the necessary modern diagnostic equipment. The facility couldn't function without them. And the most difficult detail, the one I hate recalling? Covering $40,000 in payroll over the last 2 years. Small amounts, a few thousand here, a few thousand there. It prevented my father from having to admit his failure to the staff. It saved him the humiliation of bounce checks. People often ask, why did you keep supporting a losing venture? Why didn't you just leave? It seems so obvious from the outside. But once you're immersed in it, you're bound by what I call the survivor's unseen chains. When you grow up where your value equals your utility, you learn a harsh truth. Being responsible is the only way to earn any scrap of positive attention. You stop being a person. You become a support column. You're terrified of pausing. You fear that if you stop holding things up, the entire structure crashes down, and it will somehow be all your fault. It's a type of learned helplessness. A prison without physical bars. You become so accustomed to the dynamic, you can't see the exit. You carry the burden, holding on to the hope that your major sacrifice will finally be appreciated. You deeply believe that if you're good enough, strong enough, useful enough, they will finally notice you. But acknowledgement never comes. Because they're trapped in their own habit, the normalization of cruelty. They didn't view their actions toward me as cruel. They were just following the roles we'd all tacitly agreed upon. My father, Walter, was the leader. My mother, Judith, managed appearances. My sister, Bridget, was the favored one, meant for success, destined for a better existence. And I was the dependable one. When they used my funds, they didn't feel they were stealing. They saw it as their entitlement. Just the responsible daughter doing her required duty. They accepted that my funding was necessary for my sister's progress. While I depleted my savings for repair equipment, my sister posted travel photos from Europe. My mother proudly boasted that the garage had financed the trip. They weren't cartoon villains. They were far more common and truly terrifying. They were people who had justified their selfishness for so long that they no longer even realized they were being selfish at all. At 7 a.m., my phone became a non-stop notification machine. First, a frantic voicemail from my father, Walter. He wasn't inquiring. He was shouting, "Emily, what did you do? All our supply orders are canceled. The repair shop is completely frozen. You've created a huge crisis. You must fix this immediately." Seconds later, a text from my sister, Bridget. "You are totally overreacting. Mom was just upset. You know how she can be. You need to call the auto parts dealer back and restore the orders. This is highly inconvenient for me." Of course. She was embarrassed. Then came the grand finale. My mother, Judith, made a public announcement on her social media account. It is truly heartbreaking when children forget who provided for them. We gave them everything we had. Now they are trying to ruin their entire family over some minor disagreement. I reviewed every single communication. I listened to the entire voicemail. Yet, in that torrent of fear and accusations, nobody bothered to ask why. Not one person checked to see if I was okay, or admitted they had gone too far. They weren't sorry about what they did to me. They were only furious that I had finally shut off their money flow. Their total lack of regret was the ultimate haha. It gave me the final authorization I required. It proved they felt nothing for me. This cleared the way for my next step. I did not respond to any of them. I let their rising panic hang in the air. I prepared myself a cup of coffee. I opened my laptop and made a different call. "Paige? Hi, it's Emily." Paige was my former college roommate. We'd survived late-night studying and bad university food together. Now, she was a partner at one of the top business law firms in Detroit. It's been a while. "Is everything all right?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "Not exactly. I need legal help." I told her the entire story. The decade of free labor, the sister who got everything, the cruel, haha text, and then I laid out the financial figures. The $105,000 loan, the $50,000 for equipment, the $40,000 for salaries. The full $195,000 total. There was a long, uncomfortable silence on the line. When Paige finally spoke, her voice had turned cold. They didn't just lock you out. What you're describing qualifies as a classic case of unjust enrichment and promissory estoppel. They truly have no idea what they've done. She paused. I've never been so pleased to be a lawyer. What exactly do you want, Emily? Tell me your exact goal. I want the money they owe me, I stated, my voice clear and steady. Excellent, she responded, because we're going to collect it. Paige was ruthless. She wasted no time. That same morning, she prepared a formal legal notification, a demand letter. It wasn't sent via email. A professional legal courier delivered it to my parents' home that very afternoon. It probably arrived just as they were eating dinner, wondering why I continued to ignore their calls. The conditions were straightforward. They had 30 days to comply. Option 1. Start a legally binding repayment schedule for the full $195,000 I had invested. Option 2. Grant me an immediate 50% ownership stake in the upcoming land sale. If they failed to respond, or decided to disregard the letter, a full lawsuit for unjust enrichment would be filed right away, demanding the total amount, plus accrued interest and all legal expenses. This was no longer just a family conflict. This was a serious legal dispute, and I had just shown up to a knife fight carrying a tank. Paige called me again, 48 hours later. I anticipated an answer to the demand letter, maybe a furious response from my father. Instead, I heard something far more disturbing. Are you sitting? She asked. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the receiver. What is it? I replied, a knot forming in my stomach. I investigated the property sale, she said. I found the corporate filings for the purchasing LLC, who signed the contract. The name is Samuel Thorne. Recognize it? I paused. No, wait. Yes. Thorne. My sister's fiancé. Paige's voice was flat. Samuel Thorne is Bridget's future father-in-law. My body went cold. I sat down instantly. This wasn't a random sale. This was a deal. They sold the land to my sister's new family. A business arrangement. A dowry, perhaps, to secure her social status. My time, my money, my life, all sold to finance my sister's marriage. The deliberate calculation behind it was horrifying. Paige, I whispered. That is terrible. Get ready, she cautioned. That's not the worst part. What could possibly be worse? The $105,000 business loan, she continued. The one you covered for 5 years. The one that began everything. I suspected something. I subpoenaed the original bank documents. Got them an hour ago. The silence was crushing. Emily, she finally said, her voice dropping to a low, grave tone. You told me your father asked for help. You took a loan to cover his payments. Yes. He faced default. He couldn't default, Paige stated, because the loan had a personal guarantor. Who? Your father forged your signature. I couldn't breathe. The air left my lungs in a sudden rush. Your name is on the initial document as the guarantor. He signed it. That's why he came to you. He wasn't asking for help. He was hiding his felony. If that loan defaulted, the bank would have taken your apartment, your savings, everything. This was the final blow. It wasn't just greed or favoritism. This was fraud. A crime. I hadn't been helping the family. I had been destroying evidence of his felony. The haha text suddenly made sick, twisted sense. They locked me out because the land was sold and they thought I, the key witness, was no longer needed. I stayed silent. The phone pressed to my ear as the last bit of family loyalty vanished into dust. The fraud lawsuit hit them hard. Paige called Monday. You won't believe this, she practically smiled. The developer, Samuel Thorne, heard about the lawsuit. He doesn't want his son marrying into a family cited for forgery. I gripped my coffee mug. What happens now? He's threatening to quit the land purchase, Paige said. He won't link his name to a criminal investigation. The very deal they had committed fraud for was now being incinerated by my lawsuit. The panic started. Their calls came, but now they were desperate. I ignored them all. Tuesday night, my door was pounded on wildly. I checked the peephole. It was my mother, Judith. Her facade was completely gone. She was disheveled, weeping, mascara streaking her face. I opened the door. "Emily, stop this," she sobbed. "Thorne will back out. He'll cancel Bridget's wedding. Her future is ruined. She is your sister." I remembered my sister's text. "This is embarrassing me." And my mother's haha. "This was never about money, Mom," I said, my voice empty, devoid of emotion. "You know that. What do you want? We'll pay. Just help your sister." That old line. Do something for the family. The family that had bled me dry and laughed in my face. "Okay," I said quietly. Hope flashed in her eyes. "Oh, Emily, thank you." "I already did," I told her. I stepped inside, retrieved a folded paper, and gave it to her. She looked at it, confusion etching her face. "What is this?" "The settlement." "That," I informed her, "is a copy of the criminal complaint for forgery I filed against Dad today. I sent it to the district attorney and to Mr. Thorne." Her face went white. The hope died, replaced by pure horror. "Goodbye, Mom," I said, shutting the door. The criminal complaint was the end. Faced with irrefutable felony proof, my father's resistance collapsed. Samuel Thorne backed out instantly. Bridget's engagement was called off fast. Marrying into a family facing fraud charges was simply unacceptable. The lawsuit was a slaughter. We never went to trial. Their lawyers saw the forgery evidence and immediately pushed for settlement. The terms were simple. They had zero power. They had to sell the garage land at a public auction immediately to cover their debts. After creditors were paid, the remaining money was split. My father, Walter, received 3 years of probation for fraud. I watched the wire transfer clear on my laptop. $400,000. I opened my old spreadsheet. $195,000. The loans, the equipment, the payroll, the years of my life, all reduced to one number. It was the price of their fake approval. I highlighted the file and pressed delete. That night, I slept free. No dreams of invoices or grease. No pressure of being the responsible one. But justice isn't just destruction. It isn't just the money you recover. It's what you build with it. There's the storm's justice, which destroys to settle a score. And there's the soil's justice, which plants new growth. I chose the soil. 6 months passed. I used the settlement to buy a rundown garage across Detroit. I cleaned, painted, and bought the best equipment. Today, E-Tech Auto is open. It's bright, clean, and mine alone. We're booked for 3 weeks solid. This morning, under a classic Mustang, my new apprentice, a young woman fresh from trade school, looked at me nervously. "Emily," she asked, "am I ready?" I saw myself in her. I wiped my hands, picked up a clean torque wrench, and placed it in her palm. "You're ready?" I said, a soft smile spreading across my face. "Let me show you. I am free. I am not a daughter, or just a mechanic. I am a builder, and this is my legacy." Have you ever had to choose yourself, truly choose yourself, even if it meant tearing down what you thought was family? Or did you ever have to walk away from everything to finally build something just for you? Tell me your story in the